There comes a moment in your journey when God steps in, not just to bless you, not just to correct you, but to align you. In the mystery of His will, He moves people into your life not by accident, but by appointment. When God chooses someone for you, it is no ordinary connection. It is holy, it is divine, and when it happens, 5 things begin to unfold. First, there is peace. Not the peace that comes from comfort or predictability, but the peace that surpasses understanding. When it's from God, your spirit will rest even if your circumstances are uncertain. You will not feel confusion, chaos, or fear. The anxiety you carried for years will begin to lift. You won't feel the need to impress, perform, or pretend. You'll feel safe, covered, heard, because when God chooses someone for you, He also gives you peace about them. When the right person is brought into your life by divine orchestration, one of the first signs is the emergence of an unshakable peace. Not the kind of peace that comes from surface-level comfort or momentary distraction, but a deeper spiritual calm that quiets the soul. This peace does not demand answers, it doesn't rely on perfect conditions, and it does not come from human reasoning. It simply exists, like a gentle river flowing in the midst of a storm. When you encounter someone who is truly meant for you, anxiety fades and fear loses its grip. You stop asking questions like, what if they leave? Or what if I'm not enough? Because something inside of you knows this is different, this is safe, this is steady. It's a peace that doesn't need to be explained to others because it resonates within you. Even if others around you don't understand why this person matters so deeply to your heart, you do. And it's not based on appearances, achievements, or social compatibility. It's a heart level knowing that you don't have to strive, pretend, or perform to keep this person in your life. You are seen, you are heard, you are valued, not for your potential, but for your presence. There's no game of trying to win love because love is already being offered freely. That kind of peace is rare but unmistakable when it arrives. This peace also silences the inner critic that often shouts in relationships born out of fear or desperation. You don't second-guess every word, replay every conversation, or lose sleep over mixed signals. The chaos that accompanied past situations is absent. In its place is clarity. And in that clarity, you can finally breathe again. The weight that sat heavy on your chest lifts, and your soul finds rest. Not because the other person is perfect, but because the connection is pure. When peace enters, so does trust. Not just in the person, but in the process. You stop rushing. You stop trying to control every detail. You begin to surrender because deep within your spirit you sense that the timing, the meeting, the growth, it's all unfolding exactly as it should. You're not just entering a relationship, you're stepping into a divine rhythm. That rhythm may not always be smooth, but it will always lead you toward your purpose. Even in the face of uncertainty, that peace remains. Life might throw challenges your way, but the foundation remains firm. When storms come, you don't scatter, you stay. When doubts whisper, they're answered by the deeper truth inside your soul. You are exactly where you're meant to be, with whom you're meant to be, and no earthly fear can override that divine assurance. Peace is not the absence of struggle. It is the presence of God's confirmation. When the right person arrives, that confirmation becomes the still voice in your spirit that says, you don't need to run anymore, you're safe now. When God orchestrates a connection, it doesn't require force, manipulation, or striving. It flows. There's an ease that surrounds it, a rhythm that aligns without resistance. You don't have to chase, beg, or constantly prove your worth to be noticed. Things begin to fall into place naturally, almost as if the timing had been waiting on your obedience to trust, to be still, to let go of what wasn't working. Divine alignment isn't loud. It doesn't show up with fanfare. It arrives gently, silently, and undeniably. You recognize it not because everything becomes perfect, but because your spirit finally stops fighting to make something fit that was never designed for you. You might have experienced moments in the past where you tried to hold on to something that kept slipping through your hands. You gave more than you received. You prayed for signs and tried to interpret silence. You asked for clarity and instead you got confusion. That's not alignment, that's friction. But when it's divine, the pieces start to click. The paths that seem so distant now draw closer. The closed doors that used to frustrate you now make sense because they were never meant to open. And the people you thought you needed start fading quietly into the background, making space for someone who was walking toward you all along. In divine alignment, there's no competition between your destinies. Your values begin to resonate. Your conversations carry depth. Your presence feels familiar, like meeting someone you were always meant to find. You're not confused about their intentions. You're not left guessing. There's clarity, not because everything is explained, but because nothing feels forced. You don't have to push them into your life, and they don't pull away from yours. It's a mutual unfolding, guided by something greater than both of you. This alignment also brings with it timing that's too perfect to be human. You may realize you both had to go through separate seasons of preparation. One may have needed healing, the other may have needed to mature. There were lessons to learn, wounds to close, and faith to grow. And then just when neither of you were striving for it, your paths cross. You don't have to make it happen. It just happens. That's the beauty of divine timing. It doesn't rush, but it never arrives late. And when it does come, it teaches you to rest. You stop worrying about losing what was never yours to begin with. You stop fearing abandonment because real alignment brings reassurance. You don't chase love, you walk into it. It feels like destiny because it is. And no amount of past heartbreaks or failed expectations can stop what was written long before you even knew to ask. This is what it looks like when something is not just right. It's right in time, right in heart, and right in spirit. That's when you'll know you're not forcing anything. You're finally flowing with it. Growth is one of the clearest signs that a connection is divinely designed. When someone is truly meant to walk alongside you, they won't just bring comfort, they'll bring transformation. This kind of person doesn't allow you to stay stagnant, small, or hidden in the shadows of your potential. They see the purpose in you even when you're unsure of it yourself. And instead of letting you settle, they gently, consistently, and lovingly push you to rise. Their presence calls something greater out of you, not with pressure, but with love. You start to think bigger, pray deeper, and live bolder because something about the connection ignites your spirit. You may notice yourself becoming more disciplined. You begin to speak with more intention, walk with more confidence, and treat yourself with more respect. That shift doesn't come from obligation, but inspiration. You're inspired to become better, not just for them, but because being around them reminds you of who you were always meant to be. You start letting go of toxic patterns, bad habits, and old wounds, not because they demanded it, but because the relationship invites healing. It's safe enough for you to grow without fear of judgment, and it's strong enough to support you as you step into your higher self. In this kind of connection, spiritual growth is also unavoidable. You begin to seek more time in prayer, more understanding of your calling, more discernment in your decisions. Conversations go beyond surface level. They reach into the soul. You begin to challenge each other in faith, not through arguments or competition, but through encouragement and testimony. When one feels weak, the other speaks strength. When one is tired, the other brings fire. Together, you build something far more powerful than emotions. You build a foundation rooted in truth. You also begin to dream differently. The vision for your life expands. What once felt out of reach now begins to feel possible. The support you receive isn't just emotional, it's purposeful. They remind you of your calling when you forget. They pray over your dreams. They speak life over your ideas. They don't distract you from your path. They walk it with you. And when disagreements arise, as they always do, they don't tear you down. They teach you how to communicate, forgive, and rebuild. True growth in a relationship also looks like accountability. You're not coddled in your comfort zone. You're held to a higher standard, not out of control, but out of care. Your blind spots are gently exposed so they can be healed. Your weaknesses aren't mocked. They're nurtured. You don't feel like you're losing yourself. You feel like you're finally finding who you really are. This is the kind of growth that lasts. Not overnight changes, but soul-deep evolution. And it doesn't stop with you. It blesses everyone around you. Because when you grow through love, that love becomes a vessel for others to grow through you. It's not just a relationship, it's a revival. And it changes everything. When a relationship is truly chosen and orchestrated by something greater, it will always be connected to purpose. It's not simply about companionship or emotional comfort, but about mission. The person sent into your life won't just make you feel loved. They will awaken something inside of you that you may have forgotten or buried. You begin to realize that the connection isn't just about romance, but about legacy. It's about two people coming together to fulfill a calling that neither could fully walk in alone. The relationship becomes a platform, not just for mutual joy, but for kingdom impact. In these kinds of connections, there's a noticeable shift in how you view your life. You no longer ask, how can we be happy, but rather, how can we serve? There's a desire to build something lasting, something rooted in faith, grounded in truth, and fueled by shared vision. It may start with simple encouragement, but it often grows into shared dreams, shared responsibilities, and shared assignments. You find yourself dreaming not only of a life together, but of how your union can touch others. That's when you know this connection is not accidental, it's an assignment. Purposeful love means both people are aware that their relationship isn't just about them. It becomes a vessel through which healing flows, both inwardly and outwardly. You begin to notice how your bond impacts the people around you, how your unity inspires hope, how your story testifies to grace, and how your growth becomes a light for others still in darkness. It's no longer just a private blessing, it becomes a public witness. People don't just admire your relationship, they're encouraged by it. Even in moments of trial, the sense of purpose keeps you grounded. When the emotions aren't high, when the storms hit, when misunderstandings happen, you don't just walk away. You remember why you were brought together. You hold on to the bigger picture. The vision becomes stronger than the tension. You learn how to fight for each other, not just with love, but with intention, because you know that the relationship is not just for today, it's for the future. And the future holds assignments only the two of you together can carry out. This kind of purpose also leads to stewardship. You become more mindful of how you treat each other, not because of fear, but out of reverence for the gift you've been given. You begin to speak differently, pray differently, and plan differently. You don't take each other for granted because you realize that you've been entrusted with something rare. There's an awe to it, a holy responsibility. You're not just walking together, you're walking in destiny. And through it all, you realize that the greatest relationships are not just those that love deeply, but those that live purposefully. When two people come together not just to enjoy life, but to serve something greater, their union becomes unbreakable. Not because they are perfect, but because their purpose is bigger than their problems. The conclusion of this speech is a reminder that when a relationship is truly chosen by God, it carries more than just affection. It carries divine alignment, peace, growth, and purpose. It's not built on fleeting emotions or shallow attraction, but on a foundation that heaven itself approves. When God brings someone into your life, it's not just to fill a space in your heart, but to partner with you in fulfilling something eternal. This kind of connection leads you closer to who you were created to be, challenges you to grow, and calls you to rise higher. It is steady, it is sacred, and it is filled with signs that remind you this was never random. It was always written. When it's God-ordained, love becomes more than just a feeling. It becomes a calling.